A Merric's Tale by Margs Murray. Read to you today by Margs Murray. Chapter 5. L'autre Bête. My eyes opened to a sky made of sapphire glass. I stared at the blue ceiling and tried to get my bearings. Where was I? I had no clue. I put my arm before my eyes, confused. Last night came back inch by inch as I remembered the kitchen and not wanting to go, hating the mere idea, and then changing my mind so thoroughly that all the way to the airport I only felt happiness, blissful to the point of idiocy. I walked up the stairs of my uncle's private jet, and then nothing. I must have passed out then, but that made no sense. On my first plane ride, I shouldn't have fallen asleep, and not only did I sleep throughout the plane ride, but also being transferred to a car. Not to mention, I slept through someone, obviously not my uncle, carrying me to this bed and leaving me here. Things didn't add up. No matter how much I wrestled with my memories, my brain refused to cooperate. I recalled nothing. It was gone. The questions in my head piled up, like how I had changed my mind so fast. Impossibly fast. So fast, in fact, I wondered if my uncle had mind control abilities. I shook my head. Silly. Stupid. Mind control wasn't real. Besides, I was still happy about going. Well, mostly happy because a slice of my mind, somewhere deep in a crease of my brain, understood this happiness wasn't right. As I tried to figure this out, a strange white mist collected right over my head and kept gathering until it created a small cloud. It sank lower and lower. I exhaled, and in a poof it dissipated and a cool mist fell to my face. Were indoor clouds an invention rich people enjoyed that hadn't made its way to the average home yet? I sat up and looked around the room. Luxurious. Every piece of furniture, from the bed to the nightstands and chairs, resembled gold trees and bushes. I crawled to a bedpost and ran my hand down the cold surface. Gold. Real gold. How do you find a good furniture set that looks like a gold forest? Not Raymore and Flanagan. Not IKEA. I got out of the bed, and a second, larger cloud hovered next to me. This time, I poked it. Mist fell to the icy marble floor, and it tendrilled out to the fireplace, sizzling into the flames, away into the sitting room and up the golden-legged sofa and two crimson velvet armchairs, over to the walnut table, and then out and under the 4 ornate doors. Uncle Bullard had to be through one of those doors in an adjacent room, and, after I figured out where, we required a lengthy discussion about acceptable behavior and expectations. Door number 1 led to some strange freezer room with a massage table. Solid pass on that room. My blood ran cool. I needed no help to get colder. No, Uncle? I slammed the door shut. Door number 2 opened to a bathroom as big as the downstairs of my home, with a tub the size of a small lap pool. No windows, but a large skylight stretched 30 feet over my head. The sink and mirror had a makeup chair next to it, and next to that was a large cabinet. Again, no Bullard. Getting angry, I moved on. Door number 3 was the closet to end all closets, with rows and rows of shelves loaded with high heels, jewelry, scarves, sweaters. Racks lined the walls, brimming with dresses. Everything you could ever want or need was in there. I stepped inside as I remembered I hadn't brought a change of clothes from home, not even a pair of underwear. I picked up a pleated teal dress from the closet rack and held it up. Shockingly, it turned out to be my size. I moved on to the sweaters and examined one. It, too, was my size. Every pair of shoes were exactly the perfect size. My hair stood up on end. Why was there a closet crammed with clothes my size? How would my uncle know my size? and I recalled my father stating his fear that Uncle Bullard wanted to take me. This seemed like an extreme amount of guessing for a man I hardly knew. Creeped out, the urge to find my uncle overwhelmed me. No, I needed to call my parents, maybe the police. Hunting for my phone, I checked every surface, corner, and drawer in the bedroom, closet, and bathroom. I found fancy odds and ends, but nothing of mine. My bag was missing. I didn't even have my flip-flops. All I had were the clothes on my back. Suddenly distressed, I panicked because I couldn't remember if the ring was in my bag. In desperation, I patted myself down and found the ring still squeezed into my shorts' little pocket. I slipped the ring on my finger. I let out a sigh and moved on to the next issue, locating my uncle and a phone. I opened the final door. One step out, and I was shocked. Carved into the white marble of the ceiling and walls were animals: a white lion in mid-leap, a llama eating grass, a lemur hanging off an elephant trunk, and every animal imaginable. Mesmerized, I wandered down the corridor, gawked at the animals, fish, and insects, and struggled not to trip over my own feet. Engraved into the wall were the words, "Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl in the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." Dominion? No kidding. Pretty sure whoever owned this place had dominion over most of the planet. I couldn't imagine how much this cost. Millions wasn't an exaggeration. And here I was, walking around in my bare feet in a Barton High sweatshirt. A little way down the corridor, a woman knelt in a pile of dust. Her hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and a fine sheen of sweat covered her forehead. Chalky dust covered her hair and face. A steady chink-chink echoed through the otherwise empty hall. "What are you making?" My voice echoed and filled the marble expanse. Her eyes held steady on her work as she hammered her chisel. "You can't tell? Great. After 8 hours of work, and you can't tell it's a wallaby." Once she said this, I saw it, but to be fair, I wasn't all that familiar with wallabies. 8 hours. She had to have seen Uncle Bullard walk down the hall. "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm looking for a man. He's older, with white hair, and he's thin. Like, super thin. Like, he could be used as a kite thin." I wanted to add rude and awful, but didn't. "I get it. Thin," the woman said, and focused on her chisel as if she was a breath away from one bad chip. "Sorry, it doesn't ring a bell. Look, I'm on a strict timeline. Don't you have anything better to do?" Oh, I did. Like finding my uncle and getting an explanation on how I had ended up in this place. "Where are we?" She let out a heavy sigh. "Lotra Bête. That should have been covered before you even got here. Now move along. The royal heiress rises in 3 hours. Heaven help us all." She ran her dust-coated hands over her hair, adding another layer of dust. She didn't care. This woman was so intense, she still hadn't bothered to look away from the wall. Royal heiress. The statement sounded familiar, except here in this hallway, I doubted this heiress was a poor, sick old woman, and had every likelihood of being an actual royal. "Is there a real princess here?" I came in closer, my bare feet stepping in the powdered marble. I whispered to her. "It's Princess Charlotte, isn't it? Is she as adorable as she is on TV? Is Megan here too? Because she is seriously the best." "I don't know her name, and why else are we here but to appease the royals?" "God, you're new here. Trust me, you don't have time, not with a Merric down the hall. One wrong step, and that's it. Endgame, you're gone." Merric. I guess they were the people Uncle Bullard worked for, or a different hotel guest, a rich hoity-toity piece of work. Either way, the sooner I found my uncle, the better, because he had a lot to explain, and quick. "Well, I haven't been assigned a job yet." "Everyone has a job here." Clink, clink, clunk. I have no clue. My uncle explained nothing to me. She glanced at me out of the corner of her eye. You need to change, or at least put on shoes. First impressions are very important to the Merrics. Okay, this was a huge problem, since I didn't know where my bag was, or even if I did, I hadn't packed clothing. Worse yet, my flip-flops were missing. Anything else? You should already know this. Always be busy and never get on their bad side. It's better to avoid conversations altogether. Just, yes, Your Majesty, and no, Your Highness. Bow when you greet them. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Drop it and bow, or curtsy. Finally, and most important, her voice lowered. The rumors are true. No matter what you see on the cue box, never look a Merric directly in the eye. Why? Are you seriously going to tell me you don't know? Are you daft? No, but I have no clue what you're talking about. None of this rang a bell, and I was ready to wring my great-uncle's neck after yesterday and that thing, the heat, the not being able to talk. And then there was the sudden change in me, like someone had flicked a light switch, and I flipped from planning to tell Bullard no to me wanting to come here. Leave it to the same jerk who'd forced me, and I recognized how crazy that sounded in my head, to come here, to leave me here by myself. The woman grabbed a small chisel from her bag. Rudolph should have gone over this with you before bringing you here. Rudolph didn't bring me here. It was... Trust me, it doesn't matter what the man said his name was. It's Rudolph. Nobody gets to Labyrinth without meeting Rudolph. Nobody. Nothing happens without Rudolph's permission. With as much as I knew about my uncle, he could have gone by the name Rudolph. And where is Rudolph? He's in the lobby making arrangements with that idiot Enzo. He shouldn't be too much longer. Rudolph can help you with whatever you need. Now, he's a nice enough guy, but remember who he works for. You see him before the princess wakes up, and you'll be fine. He'll get you a change of clothes. I can take you to him. I'll be done in an hour. She chiseled a small piece and looked down at my feet and added, Where are your shoes? I couldn't find them. I sat down next to her. Did you do all these animals? She put down her chisel and grabbed a grinder out of her bag. Bullard has been adding animals to this hallway since 1937, and I don't have the money to look this good at 120. So you do know my uncle. Have you seen him? I woke up and he wasn't around, and my stuff... The woman jumped to her feet, her grinder clacking to the floor, and she looked at me for one shocked second before she curtsied. I apologize. I had no idea. I apologize for what? I'm confused. We were told... She cut herself off and knelt on the floor. She picked up a small black box. It was about the size you'd find an engagement ring in, and turned it over. She stared at it for a minute before saying, No special alert. I don't understand. That made two of us. We were just sitting there all normal, and she'd got into panic mode. The woman pressed a button on the box, and everything happened like a movie on fast forward. Doors opened and closed. Footsteps clicked and scuffled. Before I registered what was going on, the hallway was full of people, 50 or more, all of them bowing. Had I missed something? I gave a nervous half-bow and said the only thing I could think of. I'm Waverly, and I'm new here, and I need to speak to Bullard. A man to my right stood up and straightened his bow tie and smoothed down his blue striped suit. He had a small nose and shapely beard. He cleared his throat and said, I am Rudolph. We most earnestly apologize. Your doctor informed us that your wake-up time wouldn't be for another 3 hours. How may I help you? 3 hours. The exact time the marble cutter had mentioned. The reaction of the people around me, the bowing, the running to greet me, gave me a strange, uneasy feeling of familiarity. Dizzy, I backed away to the wall and rested against the buffalo in disbelief. I need to talk to my uncle. I'm afraid he had urgent business, Rudolph said.
He sends his greatest apologies and warmest regards. I'm the keeper of Bête, and I will escort you to—" "Oh, excuse me, coming through!" A man in a bright emerald green suit came weaving through the people, carrying an armload of wrapped gifts. He somehow managed to bow. "Oh, Your Highness, I'm so sorry!" His chest heaved as he labored to force out the words. "I thought we had more time. You must be so excited. We have so many great things planned. I am so sorry. Can you ever forgive me?" "Your Highness?" My body chilled all the way to the bone. "Your Highness?" "I was about to escort Waverly back to her room,"
Rudolph said.
"Here!"
The man in green nudged a woman with his elbow. As soon as she stood up, he pushed the packages into her arms.
"There are more in the lobby. Move!
He shooed his hand at everyone.
"I'm Enzo Miller, but everyone calls me Enzo, otherwise known as your planner, and we will be the greatest of friends. All Merrics are close with their planners. I have big plans for you, big plans."
Then he held out his arm for me to take. As we passed by the marble cutter, I saw her face. It was as white as the marble around us. She held the wall for support. Terrified. She was terrified. I smiled at her and waved, hoping she would feel better, but honestly, she looked faint.